Hey everybody, welcome back. Hope you're
Hi.
doing good. For those of you who don't know us, I'm Mark. I'm a certified health coach, and this is Teresa. She's a board certified family nurse practitioner. We are with Total Health and Wellness. And for those of you guys who are regulars to the channel, welcome back. If you guys are new to the channel, we like to talk about just about everything from hormones to metabolic health and really just all health related stuff. So anyway, we're back today. We're going to talk to you a little bit today about, well, let me back up a little bit. We figured this was a good time to bring this up because a lot of people going into the new year are going to be doing New Year's resolutions. So we thought it would be a good time to start bringing up and doing posts and videos on things that are associated with moving forward and having a great 2025 and really taking charge of your health. So today's title or theme is going to be why you shouldn't trust your provider with nutrition advice. All right. So we talk about this quite a bit, but I wanted to bring up a couple of statistics with you guys just to kind of set the tone with this conversation that we're going to be having today. So in 2021, everything I'm going to be chatting with you about is going to be, statistically speaking, is going to be from 2021. Just so you know that the data is a couple of years behind. But 1.2 million Americans were newly diagnosed with diabetes in 2021 alone. Another 8.7 million Americans went completely undiagnosed with diabetes, although they had it. So that's about 10 million people in 2021, Americans, I shouldn't say people, Americans specifically, who were diagnosed or should have been diagnosed with diabetes. So also 97.6 million Americans in 2021 actually had diabetes. So that's a pretty significant number. I wanted to talk, I'm looking over here at some stats. I have those written up here just to keep me on track. So 38.4 million or 11.6% of our population in America had diabetes. That's what it really boils down to. So that's a pretty significant number. And a lot of you have probably heard this before, but the largest and fastest growing demographic with regards to diabetes is children, which is kind of scary. So we're setting those kids up for failure right from the get-go. And I mean, that really, we could talk about that.
And fatty liver.
And fatty liver, for sure. We could talk about that in and of itself, you know.
You know what that makes me think, but I am cynical and I am a conspiracy theorist. But I think that we are exactly where they want us to be.
Well,
money making.
We talked about this before. The last video we did, we talked about some of the entities that are out there kind of in the background who are creating these policies and or making recommendations or they have services and or goods that they're selling that are steering us down the wrong way with regards to our health. And that's definitely concerted, but that's more about money than anything else. It's a for-profit kind of deal. So for sure, that's an issue. So anyway, moving into kind of getting back on track, moving into 2025, you know, what can you guys do with regards to helping yourselves and helping yourself achieve total health and wellness? So the first thing I want to talk about with you guys is that if you are looking to seek the advice of a provider, whether that provider is a doctor, a nurse practitioner, a health coach, a nutritionist, a personal trainer, if you're looking to go to any of them for nutrition advice, when you go to see them, I just want you guys to step back and just ask them this one question at the very beginning when you first meet them and you're talking about their program or their protocols or whatever it is they do, is ask them what type of test that they're going to do on you, or tests, excuse me, plural, initially to make a kind of figure out what your metabolic status is, how healthy you are metabolically speaking. Meaning, are you pre-diabetic, or do you have some other sort of issue with your metabolic health that you need to know about? Because a lot of these health coaches, especially in personal trainers, and even a lot of providers too, they don't care about that and they won't do any types of tests. Now, there is the opposite of that. There are also ones that will do a ton of tests on you. A lot of those tests are worthless. But for what we're talking about though, ask them that question. Ask them if they're going to assess your metabolic status before they put you on a program and they start making nutrition recommendations. And if they say, "Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to put you on a program that's going to work for you while you're, lifting weights and doing this other stuff," turn and run the other way. Leave the room, just walk out on it, because that's not fair for you, okay? Because if they don't know you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, or you have some sort of other issue, PCOS, any of these metabolic syndromes that we have, metabolic issues that we have or illnesses, if they're not assessing that, they can make it worse. If they put you, Teresa, talk about some of the carbohydrate recommendations that some of these trainers and nutritionists and dietitians and other people are putting people on. Talk about that really quick, because you have
Yeah,
instances
I
where it's
have the lowest carbohydrate per day that I have seen for a macro meal plan from a trainer is 185 grams of carbs a day.
yeah,
That is just so shocking to me, only because that's just going to make you more diabetic, or it's going to flip you over into pre-diabetic. So to be fair, health coaches probably don't have the scope of practice to order labs,
for sure.
or the nutritionists probably don't either, but you need to order them yourself. And here's the list. So get your paper out. Am I going out of the order for you?
It's fine. We can.
Okay. So get your list out. This is what you need to have done before you even start on any plan with or without paying someone. There are labs. The two that I know about is Any Lab Test Now. We have them here in Missouri. We have them in Florida. And then the other one is Siobhan Huggins and Dave Feldman's group, which is ownyourownlabs.com. You need to order a CMP, a comprehensive metabolic panel, that will give you your fasting glucose and your liver enzymes. Your ALT and AST can point toward fatty liver. And then you need a fasting insulin. And then you need triglycerides and HDL. So you could do a little cholesterol profile with cholesterol, LDL, HDL, and triglycerides. But the one I'm really concerned about is HDL and triglycerides. And like at my office, each one of those are $4. You're going to pay a little more ordering from a facility like those two I just mentioned, but you need to. So, and then the other thing is you can go online once you have your fasting glucose and fasting insulin and find your HOMA IR scale, which is insulin resistance scale. That will give you so much information. There are two charts that I went over yesterday at the office for next week that were, one had a A1C of 6.1, the other one of 6.3. That's the diabetic test. 6.1 and 6.3 are both pretty much middle of the road pre-diabetic. 6.5 starts full diabetes. So if these two people didn't know this and went to a trainer and got put on 185 grams of carbs a day, forget it.
Yeah, and that's the issue, is that and I'm picking on personal trainers. It's not just them, but I'm just mentioning it because it's a one size fits none approach. They put everybody on a high carbohydrate way of eating or diet, and when they put them on that, like I said earlier, is if they have an issue with their metabolic health and they can't process those sugars and the insulin isn't, that balance between sugar and insulin is thrown off in their body because they're not healthy, they could potentially get sicker. So this carpet bombing approach is not good. We need a targeted approach with regards to the macros. And our approach, so you guys know this from hearing our videos over and over, doing a keto or low carb or a carnivore. Listen, if you're metabolically healthy or not, and you get put on that way of eating, it's not going to hurt you. It's safe to eat keto and low carb for 99.9% of Americans. Right. But if you're sick and you're not healthy and someone puts you on a high carbohydrate diet, talking about 200 grams of sugar a day, that's what carbs are, is sugar, then there's potential to make you worse. So we have to be very careful. And I feel like it's just very irresponsible of a lot of people to do that, to put folks on a one size fits none type of diet. It's just not right.
Well, and there are studies that show 88%, and now I think the newest one shows 92% of our population is sick. So that means there's only 8 to 12% of Americans walking around that are metabolically healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And if you are eating 185 grams of carbs a day, but working out with your and I don't honestly know how often they'll work out with them. Like, is it every day or is it twice a week?
There's so many different programs and so many different types of styles of personal training.
But even if you're working out like 4 days a week, lifting weights, I just don't know how you'd burn 185 grams of carbs. I just don't know how you do that. And remember, carbs turn to sugar. So it could be ice cream, but the favorite meal plan of health coaches and stuff and personal trainers is oatmeals, bananas, yogurt, granola, sweet potatoes,
chicken breast, sweet potato, and broccoli. So those are pretty standard across the board. I started I'm a health coach, so I finished a health coaching course. I did a personal training course, but I never got certified to do it because I just was like, it doesn't do me any good to get into this anymore. It's more of the same stuff. So I stopped doing it just because I didn't need it, and I didn't agree with a lot of the stuff that was being promoted in that personal training.
But honestly, that's how you're taught. That's how they're taught.
It is, absolutely.
It's just like us coming out of nurse practitioner school or MD school. You're taught that lifestyle and food doesn't really matter. They don't know sleep matters. They don't know to ask. Well, they don't have time. but they don't know to ask women and men how your relationship is with your spouse. I mean, that's huge. Do you like your job? Are you happy? I mean,
there's a lot more to health and wellness than just, what we're talking about in this, but this, for our intents and purposes today, I also want to go down the road of telling you guys to be careful of snake oil salesmen as well, because there's a ton of that out there on social media too. So they're trying to sell products and or services that are promising you that you can eat anything you want, whatever you want to eat, as long as you're eating the foods we're telling you to do, or within this little window, or if you're taking our supplement or whatnot. And that's another red flag. The hairs on your back should stand up, the back of your neck should stand up if you hear that, because it's not true. Like, at the end of the day, guys, you've got to put in the work. Okay. It's not easy. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight getting to where you are if you're not metabolically healthy, and you're not going to fix it overnight. So anybody who's telling you, hey, here's the easy button, you just follow our program and you can just push this button, take our pill, take our drops, whatever it is, and you're going to lose a bunch of weight. Some of them will work short term.
Yes.
They will, like Ozempic, for instance, that providers are giving out, whether it's short term that can help you, but in the long term, it's not sustainable. And there's other repercussions that go with those things.
If you're, and the reason you lose weight in the beginning is because if you get put on a macro count of 185 grams of carbs a day, you were probably at 300. Mm-hmm. So you have cut that in half, and now you're exercising.
So you are restricting carbohydrates in a way. Mm-hmm. It's still not low carb, but you've reduced your carbohydrate intake. So thank you for your personal trainers who are cutting people's carbohydrates in half from going to 300 to 180, even though they don't take you to the next step, which is to get you lower than 50 a day.
Right, because then if you go off of Ozempic, or then you stop paying your personal trainer, so you stop working out as intensely, then you're going to gain it all back, because you haven't figured out that food addiction is real. And so also, I hope your pen is still by you. So Peak Human Podcast is Brian Sanders' podcast. Peak Human Podcast, I'm pretty sure it's number 61, is Joan Ifland, Ifland. She goes over the whole tobacco taking over processed food and how it's an addiction. It's a true addiction, and they market it like that.
Yeah, the
treat it like that.
Addiction Reset Community, or ARC, Addiction Reset Community. That's what her program is for people with regards to food addiction, helping people out with that. So that's a big deal too. So we're kind of going all over the place here, but I also wanted to talk to you about something that we need to start recommending you guys do, especially moving into 2025, and that's getting a continuous glucose monitor.
Yes.
So for those of you who don't know, it's a device you'll wear on the back of your arm. Yes. And what'll happen is you'll scan that device onto your cell phone, and your cell phone will track the data. And I don't know what what we're going to talk about, the Stelo Dexcom continuous glucose monitor, what the frequency is of readings. We were using the Freestyle Libre, and the Freestyle Libre took a reading every 15 minutes for 2 weeks, for 15 days.
Yep.
And then at the end of that, you scanned out of that and it aggregated all that data together. And during that time where you were wearing it over that 2 weeks, you kept a food diary. Mm-hmm. So you're writing down what you're eating and whatnot. But this is really the easiest and best way for you to track what it is that you're eating that's going to be possibly causing you issues. Because a lot of folks out there, like, I tried keto, I've tried Mediterranean, paleo, all this other stuff, and I've never been able to lose weight. I don't know what it is. Well, there's a perfect opportunity for you to wear that and see what you're eating that's causing your blood sugar to spike, and then causing your insulin to produce, your pancreas to produce insulin, and cause your insulin to spike.
Yep.
And remember, insulin is what drives the weight gain. It's what drives fat storage and whatnot. Yep. So we want to control that, but that's the best way to see it. It's the easiest way to see it, I think.
Yeah. And if your pens are still handy,
yes.
I've heard on the diabetic groups that the Stelo.com is not as good as the Freestyle Libre.
Yeah.
But when you ask your physicians, because they have to prescribe the Freestyle Libre 3 now, we're on 3.
Third generation.
Yeah. And so all they have, as soon as you ask your provider, they're going to say, you're not a diabetic, your insurance won't pay for it. And you can just say, I know. All they have to do, like, I order it for patients all the time. So if you're my patient and you're watching and you're like, I want a CGM, call the office or text the office. All I do is I enter it into my system, my EHR, and in the notes for comments to the pharmacy, I write, patient is self-pay, and we'll download the Reader app. So then you go and you download GoodRx app, and you look up Freestyle Libre 3, and it's about 135 to 145 for 2 sensors, which each sensor lasts 2 weeks. So that's a month's worth. Mm-hmm. I would say, unless you're fighting to pay your mortgage that month, you need to invest in a CGM.
Yeah.
And you need to play around with foods and see what foods do to you. But when you hire a trainer and they have you on oatmeal in the morning, you're going to be shocked about your oatmeal and your bananas.
Yeah, for sure. Were you
Shocked.
going to talk a little bit about, so speaking of shock, we have a little bit of data, Teresa, wanted to share with you on continuous glucose monitors that we did with our boys when they were younger.
Yeah.
So,
and I've shared this with you guys before, but
Yeah.
this is Nate. He's our older son by 1 minute, but these are bananas. And so I hope you guys can see this. So a banana, these kids are not diabetics. So you can see before the banana, they're in range. They're under 100. He even dipped a couple times, okay? He ate the banana. He shot straight up to 175. A blood sugar of 175, I better have eaten red velvet cake and pizza, okay? 175. Now, he's not a diabetic, so he comes straight back down. That's good. But for a banana, that's not worth it, if you ask me. Okay.
Because imagine, and you can see how steady his line was for the rest of that period there.
Right.
He was at or below pretty much, with a couple of small spikes there. But the key is that most people aren't like this because aren't eating the way. He just did this as a test.
Yeah.
And that was a one single spike. Most people, that's going to happen 10, 12, 14 times a day to them. And that's where the problems come in, is that repetitive spikes of insulin and then drops. It falls off, and that's where you're driving all that fat storage. Plus you're feeling like crap that whole time. When you get those spikes like that, that's when you're ready to choke yourself or choke. I let you say this much better than I do, but anyway. So
you're going to throat punch somebody or cut somebody.
Yeah. You're just really aggravated. So anyway, you got to be careful with that.
Yep.
And you have one more to show?
And this is Nate again. And so before I hope it's not backwards, but before I show you the readings, the first one you're going to see is 2 packs of is it in the frame?
Yeah.
2 packs of low sugar oatmeal, a half a banana, some yogurt, and a granola bar. And then in the middle, you're going to see eggs and bacon. And then they went to a back to school party and they had junk burgers with buns, chips, cookies, ice cream, and cake. Okay, so take the eggs and bacon, you guys know, but the party and the breakfast, which do you think is going to be higher in relation to sugar? Okay, maybe make your comment.
And I'll hold this and you can go ahead and there you go. And I'll let you go ahead.
So they're the same. So eating a healthy personal trainer's breakfast, or like I say, a federally regulated breakfast for nursing home, hospitals, and schools is the same, 250. He was perfectly fine and normal and shot to 250. So you would need to ask your providers if they think a blood sugar of 250 is fine. Okay, and hopefully they say no. Now, he's not a diabetic, so he corrects. But again, I need something better than oatmeal and a banana to make my blood sugar go that high. These are the things that you have to know about. You have to know about them. If you can't afford $145, we understand times are tight. But it is an investment that everyone needs to get.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me see what this comment says.
So,
yeah.
Go ahead. Do you want to?
Well, so I had a patient that did Andy's frozen custard, which if you're not in Missouri, that's a frozen custard place. And
it's ice cream.
Sorry,
for those of you who don't live in Missouri or the Midwest, ice cream and frozen custard are just interchangeable.
Yep. So someone checked their banana against Andy's, and Andy's, it does the same thing, although not maybe as high sometimes as a banana because there's fat in Andy's, the ice cream, so it kind of slows the spike. But you need one of these to see what you're doing. And then if you still have your pen and paper there, you need to check out the documentary Fat Fiction. And a lot of our friends are in there, but Dr. Brian Linskus, there were patients they followed for a week on low carb and high carb, low fat and CGMs. And it's fascinating.
Yeah, it for sure is. Right on. All right, guys. And so one more thing we also wanted to mention, and I just want to let you know we have no financial affiliation with who I'm about to tell you about, but rosettesmix.com.
Yes.
Rosette's Mix. So if you guys are interested in getting any kind of like low carb dessert mixes, or, if you want to get, they have doughs and things like that, cracker mixes that you can make low carb treats with and snacks and whatnot. She's having a 20% off sale for New Year's. So we don't have any financial affiliation. We just love to support Rosette, and Dr. Tro is her husband. And for those of you who know Dr. Tro, absolutely fantastic. They're just great people. So check them out. And by the way, all the stuff we're talking about, Rosette's Mix and the Stelo.com and stuff like that, that's all going to be listed in our description and comment section, depending upon which flavor social media you're on. Yeah. So anyway, what else? Anything else you wanted to touch on?
We just love you guys so much. Oh, absolutely. I did. I want to give you a testimony. I told you guys we choose to cheat on Christmas Day, but I also told you that I always ruminate about food for about 10 or 14 days after. Finally, I haven't. And we've been doing this for like 8 years.
Yeah.
Okay. It's taken me this long to just have a cheat and move along.
Yep.
So when you're on the other side of us, listening to us going, I'll never make it that far. I'll never get there. Stop saying I'll never.
Yeah.
And just saying, I can't wait until I get there,
Yeah.
or until that's me or my testimony.
Yeah, for sure. Right on.
But
well, if you guys haven't already done so, please consider, if you find this helpful, consider subscribing to us, like us, whatever, again, social media flavor you're on. Just hit one of those buttons to follow us. And also any kind of comments you have are helpful.
Yes.
Little smiley faces and emojis help too. Stars, whatever you guys would do. We truly appreciate it. And so I just wanted to wish you guys, moving into 2025, good health. And we want to pray. We're going to pray for everybody for blessing and favor over all you and your families moving then.
Yes.
And as always, we love you guys.
So much.
God bless you. And we'll see you guys in 2025.
Bye.
All right. Bye. Oh, don't forget, food matters.
Food matters.
Almost forgot that one. Bye, guys.